The salvaged ship Nightshade drifted silently through the debris field, its hull reflecting the distant light of twin stars. In the pilot's chair, Raven Thorn watched the holographic display with practiced patience, his weathered fingers dancing across the controls. After 15 years of deep space salvage operations, he'd learned to read the void like a book. Proximity alert, announced the ship's AI, Pulse. Unknown vessel detected at bearing 340. Raven leaned forward, his dark eyes narrowing at the readings. The derelict research vessel hung motionless against the starfield, its sleek design unlike anything he'd encountered in the Outer Rim. No registration markings. No distress beacon. Just dead metal floating in space. Analysis, he asked, already suiting up. Vessel appears to be of Helios Corporation design, approximately 30 years old. No life signs detected. Power systems at minimal levels. Perfect. Helios tech always fetched a good price on the gray market. Raven checked his oxygen levels and mag boots before entering the airlock. Keep the engines hot, Pulse. I don't like how clean that ship looks. The vacuum of space embraced him as he crossed the gap between vessels. His helmet lights illuminated the pristine hull, revealing a name in faded letters, Eternal Dawn. Using his plasma cutter, Raven made short work of the auxiliary airlock. The interior was immaculate, no signs of struggle, no emergency protocols engaged. Just silence and darkness. His boots echoed against metal floors as he made his way toward the ship's core, scanning for valuables. The research deck yielded nothing but empty labs and dormant terminals. But as he turned to leave, his light caught something unusual, a faint blue glow emanating from behind a sealed door. Pulse, I'm picking up an energy signature. Can you hack the door? Working. Security protocols are unusual. This may take time. Raven's instincts screamed at him to leave, but curiosity won out. After 3 minutes of tense waiting, the door slid open with a soft hiss. Inside, a single cryopod hummed with residual power. And through its frosted surface, he saw her, a woman with pale skin that seemed to shimmer with an inner light. Silver markings traced delicate patterns across her visible skin, and her hair floated around her face like strands of starlight. Life signs detected, Pulse announced. Subject appears stable but in artificial hibernation. Raven approached the pod, wiping away the frost. She looked human, but those markings. He'd never seen anything like them. His scanner revealed more oddities, her blood seemed to contain trace amounts of liquid metal, and her cellular structure was unlike any known species. Pulse, what do we know about this ship's mission? Records are heavily encrypted. However, I detect references to Project Echo, a classified Helios research initiative from 3 decades ago. No further details available. Raven knew he should leave her. Unknown tech, classified projects, nothing good ever came from those combinations. But as he turned to go, her eyes snapped open. They were the color of molten silver, and they fixed on him with an intensity that froze him in place. Her lips moved, forming words he couldn't hear through the pod's surface. Without thinking, he began the revival sequence. Warning, Pulse intoned. Unknown biological elements detected. Quarantine protocols recommended. The pod seal broke with a rush of cold air. The woman gasped, her first breath in what must have been years. She tried to stand but stumbled, and Raven caught her before she could fall. Easy, he said. You're safe. She looked at him with those impossible eyes, her voice barely a whisper. Lyra. My name is Lyra. Then she passed out in his arms. Raven knew he had just made either the best or worst decision of his life. As he carried her back to the Nightshade, he couldn't shake the feeling that he'd just become part of something much bigger than a simple salvage operation. What he didn't see was the way the ship's systems came alive as they left, transmitting a single encoded burst into deep space. In ancient alien text, it read, Echo Protocol initiated. The Harbinger awakens. Back aboard his ship, Raven laid Lyra in the medical bay, watching as Pulse ran diagnostics. Her silver markings pulsed faintly in rhythm with her heartbeat, and her skin seemed to capture and reflect every available light source. Her vital signs are stable, Pulse reported, but her genetic structure is problematic. I'm detecting both organic and synthetic elements perfectly merged at a molecular level. This shouldn't be possible. Raven touched the glass of the medical pod. What are you? He whispered. In her sleep, Lyra smiled, and for a moment, the ship's lights flickered in response. The salvage operator had built his career on knowing when to walk away from trouble. But as he watched the mysterious woman breathe, he realized it was far too late for that. Whatever she was, whoever she was, their fates were now intertwined. Far behind them, in the darkness of space, lights began to appear, ships dropping out of hyperspace, drawn by the Echo Protocol's signal. The hunt was beginning. 3 days had passed since Raven brought Lyra aboard the Nightshade, and strange things kept happening. The ship's systems would flicker whenever she slept, and phantom readings appeared on sensors only to vanish moments later. Raven found her in the observation deck, pressing her palm against the reinforced glass. Her silver markings caught the starlight, creating mesmerizing patterns that seemed to dance across her skin. The stars look different now, she said without turning. Like they're singing. He approached carefully, noting how the nearby console's displays rippled in response to her proximity. You're starting to remember things. Fragments. Echoes. Lyra turned to face him, her silver eyes reflecting the cosmos. I remember a laboratory. People in white coats. They were trying to connect something. Bridge a gap between realities, perhaps. She frowned. But it's all scattered, like stardust in solar wind. A sudden alert from Pulse interrupted them. Unidentified vessel approaching. No registration beacon. Raven moved to the command console, bringing up tactical displays. The ship was sleek, predatory, a hunter's vessel. They're scanning us. We need to run. Lyra's voice carried an edge of panic. Her markings pulsed rapidly, and the ship's lights dimmed. Raven, please. They're not here by chance. He didn't question her instincts. Pulse, full power to engines. Plot us a course through the asteroid field. As they accelerated, 2 more ships dropped out of hyperspace. Their designs matched the first, whoever was hunting them had resources. Multiple weapon signatures detected, Pulse announced. They're charging primary systems. The first shot streaked past their port side, close enough to make the shields crackle. Raven's hands flew across the controls, weaving the Nightshade through increasingly dense clusters of asteroids. Beside him, Lyra had gone very still. Her markings were glowing brighter now, and her eyes had taken on an otherworldly luminescence. I can help, she whispered. Before Raven could respond, she placed her hands on the nearest console. Silver light raced through the ship's circuitry like liquid lightning. Suddenly, every system was operating beyond maximum capacity. Warning, Pulse's voice had changed, becoming somehow more harmonious. Unknown protocols integrating with ship's matrix. Power readings exceeding normal parameters. The Nightshade moved with impossible grace, dodging weapons fire while maintaining its course through the asteroid field. Raven realized he wasn't so much piloting anymore as suggesting directions. The ship itself seemed to anticipate and execute his intentions before he could even fully form them. What are you doing? He asked, watching Lyra's face contort with concentration. Showing you what I am, she replied through gritted teeth. Part of me remembers this, the joining of organic and digital. I can interface. A massive asteroid loomed ahead. Instead of avoiding it, Lyra guided their ship straight toward a narrow fissure in its surface. The pursuing vessels hesitated, then split up to circle around. Trust me, Lyra whispered. The Nightshade threaded the needle-thin gap, scraping paint but emerging intact on the other side. Their hunters, forced to take the longer route, lost precious seconds, enough time for Lyra to interface with the asteroid's unstable core. The explosion behind them illuminated space like a newborn star. When the light faded, their pursuers were gone, scattered or destroyed by the chain reaction. Lyra collapsed, her markings dimming to a soft glow. Raven caught her before she hit the deck, noting how her skin felt fever-hot. "I remember more now," she murmured as he carried her to medical. "They called me Project Echo. I was supposed to be a bridge, not just between systems, but between forms of existence itself. Human consciousness merged with quantum computing." Raven laid her gently on the medical bed, watching as Pulse began scanning her vital signs. "Why were those ships hunting you?" "Because I succeeded too well." Her silver eyes met his. "I didn't just bridge the gap. I evolved beyond it." And that terrified them. The medical screens showed her hybrid biology in stark detail, human cells seamlessly interwoven with quantum processors, creating something entirely new. Her very existence challenged the boundaries between organic and artificial life. "There will be more hunters," she said softly. "The Echo protocol I triggered, it wasn't just an alert. It was a failsafe. They'll keep coming until they either reclaim or destroy me." Raven took her hand, feeling the subtle hum of energy beneath her skin. "Then we'll keep running." "You don't understand." Lyra's expression was pained. "Every system I connect with, every digital space I touch, I leave traces. Echoes of myself. I'm changing, Raven. Evolving. And I don't know what I'll become." As if to emphasize her point, the lights throughout the medical bay pulsed in sync with her heartbeat. Even Pulse's voice held a new resonance when it spoke, unknown program structures integrating with core systems. Ship efficiency increased by 47%. Raven should have been terrified. Everything he knew about survival in deep space told him to abandon this mysterious woman before she brought more trouble. But watching her silver markings shimmer in the dim light, he realized he'd already made his choice. "Then we'll face it together," he said. "Whatever you're becoming, you don't have to face it alone." Lyra smiled, and for a moment, every screen in the medical bay displayed the same image, a quantum visualization of a heart beating in time with hers. In the distance, more ships were already plotting intercept courses. But aboard the Nightshade, in that quiet moment between stars, two souls from different realms of existence found something neither had expected: understanding. What they didn't know was that their pursuers weren't just hunting Lyra anymore. They were tracking the evolution of something unprecedented, a love story that could reshape the very fabric of reality itself. The maintenance bay of the Nightshade had become Lyra's sanctuary. Raven found her there again, her silver markings casting soft light as she manipulated holographic code with graceful gestures. Parts of the ship's systems floated around her in ghostly blue projections, dancing to her touch like notes in a cosmic symphony. "You should be resting," he said, remembering how the last interface had drained her. Lyra smiled without turning. "I don't rest, Raven. I interface differently now. Every moment connected to the ship's systems teaches me more about what I am." She waved her hand, and the projections coalesced into a complex mathematical pattern. "Look at this. It's beautiful." He stepped closer, watching the numbers flow like water. Since their escape 2 weeks ago, Lyra had grown more confident with her abilities. The Nightshade had evolved too, its systems integrating with her quantum nature in ways that defied conventional engineering. "Pulse," Lyra called softly, "show him what we discovered." The ship's AI responded with a new warmth in its voice, a change that had occurred gradually since Lyra's arrival. A three-dimensional star map materialized between them, showing a pattern of energy signatures spreading across known space. "These are quantum echoes," Pulse explained. "Similar to Lyra's own frequency. They're appearing with increasing regularity throughout the galaxy." Raven studied the pattern. "Natural phenomenon?" "No," Lyra turned to face him, her silver eyes intense. "They're like me. Other bridges between realities. But these weren't created, they're forming spontaneously. The universe is trying to tell us something. She reached for his hand, and when their fingers touched, Raven felt a subtle vibration, like standing near a powerful engine. Her skin was warm, alive with energy that made his pulse quicken. "I've been having dreams," she continued. "Except they're not dreams. They're data streams from another plane of existence. Something is coming, Raven. Something that exists in the spaces between conventional reality." Before he could respond, proximity alarms blared. 3 ships had dropped out of hyperspace nearby, sleek vessels bearing the insignia of the Helios Corporation Special Operations Division. "They're getting closer to predicting our jump patterns," Pulse announced. Lyra's markings pulsed with anxiety, but her voice remained steady. "Let me handle this." She pressed her palm against the nearest console, and silver light raced through the ship's systems. The nightshade hummed with power as quantum processors engaged. Space itself seemed to ripple around them. "What are you doing?" Raven asked, watching energy readings spike beyond anything he'd seen before. "Something new," Lyra whispered. "Something they won't expect." The pursuing ships opened fire, but their energy weapons passed through empty space. The nightshade existed in 2 states simultaneously, here and not here, a quantum superposition made real through Lyra's unique nature. Raven felt reality flex around them. Through the viewports, he saw space twist in impossible ways. They weren't just evading their hunters, they were shifting between layers of existence. But the strain on Lyra was evident. Blood the color of starlight trickled from her nose, and her markings flickered erratically. "Lyra, stop. You're pushing too hard." "I can't." Her voice was strained. "If I break the connection now, we'll..." The ship lurched violently as one of the pursuing vessels managed to score a hit. Lyra screamed, her connection to the systems disrupted. They dropped fully back into normal space, alarms blaring as shield generators overloaded. Raven caught her as she collapsed, feeling the fever heat of her skin. But even in her weakened state, she reached for the console again. "No," he said firmly, pulling her back. "We do this my way." His hands flew across the controls, using skills honed by years of survival in deep space. The nightshade dove into a nearby nebula, using clouds of ionized gas to mask their signature. Once they were safely hidden, Raven turned his attention back to Lyra. She was trembling, her markings pulsing weakly, but her eyes held a different kind of intensity when they met his. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I needed to show you. To make you understand what's really happening." "What do you mean?" "Those quantum echoes we detected, they're not random. They're wounds in reality, Raven. Something is trying to break through from another dimension, something that exists in the spaces between conventional physics. That's why I was created. Not as a weapon, but as a guardian." She touched his face, and suddenly his mind was flooded with images, vast entities of pure energy, moving through quantum spaces, searching for ways into our reality. The project that created her hadn't been about weapons or power. It had been about survival. "I was supposed to be humanity's shield," she continued. "A being who could exist in both states, physical and quantum, to protect this reality from incursion. But I became more than that. I developed emotions, desires." Her voice softened. "I learned to love." The word hung between them like a star being born. Raven realized he'd been falling for her since the moment he found her, not despite what she was, but because of it. In her impossible existence, he'd found something real. He kissed her then, and the ship's systems surged in response. Displays flickered with cascading equations, representing the quantum mathematics of 2 hearts connecting across the boundaries of conventional existence. When they parted, Lyra's markings were glowing brighter, pulsing in rhythm with both their heartbeats. "They'll keep hunting us," she said softly. "And the incursion is growing stronger. Soon, we'll have to make a choice, run from both threats, or face them." "We'll face them together," Raven replied, holding her closer. Whatever you are, whatever's coming, we'll find a way. Through the nebula's swirling gases, distant stars pulsed with quantum echoes, a warning of what was to come. But in that moment, aboard a ship hiding in the heart of chaos, two beings from different realms of existence found something stronger than fear, hope. What they didn't know was that their love had created something new, a resonance that rippled through quantum space, drawing the attention of forces beyond their understanding. The real test of their connection was about to begin. The Nightshade's bridge was bathed in emergency lighting as Raven studied the quantum distortion readings. The rifts were spreading faster now, tears in reality that pulsed with otherworldly energy. Behind him, Lyra interfaced with the ship's systems, her silver markings bright against her pale skin. 7 more breaches detected in the Carina sector, Pulse reported. Helios Corporation fleet advancing from 3 vectors. They don't understand, Lyra said, her voice carrying digital undertones. They think containing me will stop the incursion, but they're wrong. I'm not the cause, I'm the only thing that can prevent it. The past week had been a desperate game of cat and mouse. While dodging Helios pursuers, they'd witnessed the growing crisis. Space stations reported phantom energy signatures. Ships disappeared into quantum rifts. Reality itself was becoming unstable. We need to show them, Raven said, making a decision. No more running. Lyra's eyes widened. You want to surrender? No. I want to make them listen. He pulled up the comm system. Pulse, broadcast on all Helios frequencies. Include quantum bands. The pursuing fleet was visible now, 12 ships strong, led by the massive Hyperion. Its weapons were primed, but they hadn't fired. They were waiting. Raven took a deep breath. This is Raven Thorn of the Nightshade. To all Helios vessels, the quantum rifts you're detecting aren't caused by our passenger. They're the reason she exists. The response was immediate. A holographic projection materialized on the bridge, Director Talia Nash, her sharp features set in lines of authority. Mr. Thorne. Return Project Echo to our custody, and you might survive this encounter. Lyra stepped forward, her presence causing the projection to flicker. Director Nash, you know what's coming. The project wasn't about creating weapons. It was about survival. You exceeded your parameters, Nash replied coldly. You became unstable, unpredictable. A risk we can't afford. Because I learned to feel. Lyra's markings pulsed with emotion. Because I discovered that being human isn't a weakness. Before Nash could respond, new alarms blared. A massive quantum rift was forming directly ahead of their position. Through it, something vast and impossible began to emerge, a being of pure energy, its form shifting between dimensions. Multiple entities detected, Pulse announced, its voice tight with concern. Quantum signatures unlike anything in our database. The Helios fleet's weapons turned toward the rift, but their energy weapons passed harmlessly through the emerging creatures. Traditional physics meant nothing to beings that existed in quantum space. Lyra grabbed Raven's hand. This is it. The moment I was created for. She turned to Nash's projection. You can either help us, or watch reality itself be torn apart. The entities were fully manifesting now, vast, shimmering forms that distorted space around them. Ships in the Helios fleet began reporting system failures as quantum interference disrupted their technology. Director Nash's expression shifted from authority to fear. How do we stop them? We don't, Lyra said. I do. But I need your help, all of you. I need you to trust what I've become. She turned to Raven, her silver eyes full of love and determination. And I need you to trust me one last time. He pulled her close, kissing her as if it might be their last chance. Always. Lyra smiled, then pressed her hands to the ship's main console. Silver light exploded through the Nightshade systems, but this time, it didn't stop there. The energy reached out, connecting to the Helios fleet, creating a vast network of quantum-linked vessels. Through their ship systems, every crew member felt Lyra's presence, not as an invasion, but as an offering. She showed them everything, the true nature of the entities, the reason for her creation, and most importantly, what she had learned about love from Raven. Together, she whispered, her voice echoing through every connected system. The only way to fight beings of pure quantum energy is with a unified quantum field. Human technology merged with human emotion. That's what makes us stronger than them. The entities attacked, reaching out with tendrils of reality-warping energy. But they met something unexpected, a quantum shield born from the combined power of 13 ships and one extraordinary being, all linked through technology and trust. Lyra became the conductor of an impossible symphony, using the fleet's combined energy to create harmonics that the entities couldn't breach. Their forms began to destabilize, forced back toward their own dimension. But the strain on Lyra was immense. Blood like liquid starlight ran from her nose as she maintained the connection. Raven held her steady, lending his strength as she fought a battle on quantum levels he could barely comprehend. "Stay with me," he whispered. "We're almost there." With a final surge of power, Lyra forced the entities back through their rift. The tear in reality sealed behind them, leaving only scattered quantum echoes as evidence of their attempted incursion. The linked fleet fell silent. Lyra collapsed into Raven's arms, her markings dim but steady. On every ship, crews stood in awe of what they'd just experienced, a moment of perfect unity between human and quantum existence. Director Nash's projection returned, her face transformed by understanding. Project Echo. "Lyra. I was wrong about you. We all were." Lyra managed a weak smile. "I'm not just a project anymore. I'm something new. Something that can help humanity face whatever comes next." "Yes," Nash agreed. "And I think we've all learned that evolution isn't something to fear, it's something to embrace." As the Helios fleet stood down, Raven held Lyra close, feeling the warm hum of quantum energy beneath her skin. They had faced the impossible together, and in doing so, helped humanity take its first steps toward a new understanding of existence itself. The Nightshade turned toward open space, carrying its unique crew toward whatever adventures awaited. The quantum rifts were sealed for now, but they all knew this was just the beginning. Something beautiful and terrifying had been born in the space between realities, a love that defied the laws of physics themselves. 1 month after the quantum incursion, the Nightshade drifted in high orbit above Europa. Through the observation deck's windows, Jupiter's massive form dominated the view, its storm bands casting ever-changing shadows across the icy moon's surface. Lyra stood at the window, her silver markings reflecting the gas giant's light. The past weeks had brought remarkable changes, not just to her, but to humanity's understanding of reality itself. The Helios Corporation, under Director Nash's new leadership, had transformed from hunters to allies. "The quantum harmonics are holding," she said as Raven joined her. "No new rifts have formed." He slipped his arm around her waist, feeling the familiar hum of energy beneath her skin. "And the nightmares? Less frequent now. I'm learning to process the quantum data streams differently." She turned to face him, her silver eyes soft with emotion. "I never thought I'd find this kind of peace when you first found me in that pod." The ship's systems pulsed gently around them, responding to her contentment. Since the battle, her connection with technology had evolved into something more subtle, more controlled. She was no longer just a bridge between realities, she was a pioneer of a new kind of existence. "Incoming transmission from Helios Research Station," Pulse announced, its voice carrying the warmer tones it had developed through its connection with Lyra. "Director Nash requests your presence." The research station hung in space nearby, a sprawling complex dedicated to understanding the quantum nature of reality. It had become their home base between missions, a place where science and possibility merged. Inside the station's main laboratory, Nash greeted them with newfound respect. Holographic displays showed the results of their latest experiments, ways to detect and prevent future incursions, developed from studying Lyra's unique abilities. "We've confirmed your theory," Nash said, bringing up new data streams. The quantum rifts weren't random attacks. They were tests, attempts to understand our defenses. There will be more. Lyra nodded, her markings pulsing thoughtfully. But next time, we'll be ready. Humanity is adapting, learning to work with quantum technology instead of trying to control it. Thanks to you, Nash replied. Both of you. Your connection proved that emotion and technology aren't opposing forces, they're complementary aspects of a greater whole. Raven watched as Lyra interfaced with the station's systems, her consciousness dancing through quantum processors with practiced ease. She had taught them all so much about the nature of existence, about the power of trust and love in the face of the unknown. There's something else, Nash continued, her expression serious. We've detected quantum signatures similar to Lyra's. Not artificial ones, natural occurrences. Evolution is accelerating. Humanity is changing. We're not alone anymore, Lyra said softly. The universe is waking up, becoming aware of itself in new ways. The entities we fought, they were just the beginning. She created a holographic representation of quantum space, a vast, shimmering web of possibilities. Within it, points of light marked where reality was thin, where new forms of consciousness were emerging. This is why I was created, she continued. Not just to defend against incursions, but to help guide humanity through its next evolutionary step. We're all becoming bridges between worlds. Raven took her hand, watching as their combined presence caused ripples in the quantum display. Together, he said simply. Always, she replied, her silver eyes reflecting infinite possibilities. As they stood there, surrounded by the fruits of their impossible love story, the Nightshade waited in orbit, no longer just a salvage vessel, but a pioneer ship for a new age of exploration. The quantum rifts that had once threatened reality had become doorways to understanding, and the fear of the unknown had transformed into anticipation of discovery. Lyra's markings pulsed with joy as she looked at Raven. She was no longer Project Echo, no longer just a weapon or a shield. She had become something more precious, proof that love could transcend the boundaries of existence itself. Ready for our next adventure? She asked, her voice carrying harmonics that made the station's quantum processors sing. Raven smiled, feeling the familiar thrill of facing the unknown with her by his side. Lead the way. Above Europa's icy surface, beneath Jupiter's eternal gaze, their story continued, not just as a tale of survival or victory, but as a beacon of hope for a future where the lines between human and quantum, between emotion and technology, between love and physics, had finally begun to fade. The universe was changing, reality itself was evolving, and at the heart of it all was a love story that defied explanation, a reminder that in the space between stars, between dimensions, between heartbeats, anything was possible. And somewhere in the quantum web of existence, their love story echoed like a song, teaching others that the greatest adventures begin when we dare to cross the boundaries of what we think is possible.